In this video, we're going to rotate the tires, including the matching full-size spare tire. I am Jim with the Works IRL channel, where together we find out what works in real life. Hey, it's great to have you here. Thanks for coming by to help me rotate the tires on my 2015 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited, also known as the JKU. If you're into Jeeps, I've got a yellow Jeep that's known as an LJ. Actually, it's based on the TJ. The new ones that are out right now are the JLs. This is a JKU, which is the JK Unlimited with the 4 doors. I would call these the tools of independence. Pancake air compressor, so you can fill up air whenever you need to on your vehicle to keep at the proper air pressure. A good set of combination wrenches, a socket set, wheel chocks, an impact wrench, a work light, a set of impact sockets, a torque wrench that's capable of getting over 100 foot-pounds, a good floor jack. I found with these tools, I can work on a vehicle on my own. It's what got me started on doing vehicle work myself. Started out with my own tire rotations, oil changes, some jack stands as well. Good to have. The basics of maintenance. When you have a full-size spare tire that matches all the other tires in your vehicle, you can include that spare tire as part of the rotation, and it helps wear all 5 tires down equally. The owner's manual will tell you how often to rotate the tires recommended by the factory. In the past, I've always rotated my tires about every 3,000 miles. It's really too often. I can't keep up with that pace. So I've gone to doing every 6,000 miles. Ultimately, the goal is to just try to keep as even wear as possible. With a 4-wheel drive vehicle, I include the full-size spare tire into my rotation. That way I'm getting equal wear on all 5 tires. With an all-wheel drive vehicle like the Subaru out there, you have to really be careful as well. Again, about every 6,000 miles, in hopes of trying to wear them all down roughly about the same. Now, when you're doing any work on any vehicle, you should always wear proper gloves, eyewear, hearing protection, and more importantly sometimes, good foot protection. I'm doing none of those things. Don't do as I do, do as I say. Proper safety is absolutely paramount. You know, something that's probably one of the cheapest tools I ever invested in was a good set of wheel chocks. I got mine from Harbor Freight. They're very heavy. The rubber is very beefy. I really do find I like having one on each side. It's really dangerous if you lift up the rear of a rear-wheel drive vehicle. If you don't have something chucked, you've got 4,000 or 5,000 pounds free rolling. Very dangerous. I've used rocks, I've used wood. The problem with some of that, what's acting as the chock, it slips along with the wheel. Whereas these Harbor Freight wheel chocks, they are stickier and they actually dig in. It's got a little bit of a compression when the weight of the vehicle rolls against it. It's got just the slightest bit of flex, and that actually makes it dig into the floor just a little bit. I think it's actually a good thing to have real wheel chocks. I actually bought another pair so I can chock both front wheels when I'm working on the rear, or vice versa. If I'm working on the front, I can chock it. Having 2 pairs of these, when I'm doing this rotation, I'll keep one on each side of the vehicle. I always chock the opposite wheel from what I'm jacking up at the time. Doing that passenger side rear, I'm gonna chock the driver's front. When I do the front passenger, I'm gonna chock the driver's rear. Having 1 pair on each side just allows me to move them front and back, make sure nothing rolls around. That's where the danger lies. Having the right tool really does help, and this Cobalt 24-volt Max half-inch impact wrench just makes little things like changing, rotating your tires just so much easier. It's a good investment. It's one of those things where once you've had it, you can't go without it again. This lithium-ion battery technology, they just seem to last and hold up. I'm really impressed with them. One safety tip, if you haven't rotated tires or done much with tires, what I just did there where you drop it down, be careful it doesn't bounce and come up, kick you in the chin. It happens. I do what's called a forward cross when doing tire rotations, and that's based on the owner's manual for this Jeep. Forward cross is where you're taking the rear tires and moving them to the front, and then you're doing a cross of the front tires to the opposite sides. You can only do that when you have tires that are non-directional. If you have directional tires, you can't do that. You just got to keep them on the same side and just swap forward to back. Now the opposite is true with that Subaru. It's an all-wheel drive. Its manual calls for a rearward cross. So you're taking the front tires, moving them to the back, and then taking the back tires and crossing them. To do this, so I have a set of winter tires. I use one of those as a temporary to hold it up while I move it around, then take it off at in the last position and put the regular all-season tire back on. With this vehicle, I always put the spare tire on the passenger rear position. I'll put the wheel chocks on, jack up this side, take this passenger side rear tire off, put what was the spare tire on. It starts the process. Then this I can roll up to the front, take the front off and go back to the driver's rear, and then from the driver's rear I can go to the driver's front, and then the driver's front goes to the spare tire position. I like to check the tire depths on all the tires to make sure that they're within a relative equal amount of tread wear. If you get a tire that's way off in terms of the tread, that can mess up things with your differential. And especially on that Subaru, one of those tires has a nail in it. Instead of replacing all 4 tires, which is a drawback of all-wheel drive, I have to buy a new tire, have it shaved down to match the tread depth of all the other tires. You know, the other tool that's really just great to have is a really good floor jack. I've used the scissor jack that comes with a vehicle. It does the trick, but it's just not as sturdy, it's just not as safe, especially when you're doing this on a routine basis. Investing in a good floor jack, this one's really beefy. I really feel like this is the only one I'll ever use again, but even the one I've had before, the little red one, from it's a Husky from Home Depot, it did the trick for over 10 years for me, and it made such a difference from just using a little scissor jack or a bottle jack. Well, I only jack up just enough to get the tire off. I don't go crazy and get way up in the air. Anytime jacking stuff, you don't want to get any higher than you need to. Also, notice how that came off relatively easily. I had to replace the rear brakes, and when I did so, I put some anti-seize around certain spots on here, and I think it really helped, especially right around the hub there. Take the tire to the next position so I don't forget where I'm at. Another tool that's nice is having a work light. Again, this Cobalt 24-volt system is nice. Got this with the combo pack. It's great for doing inspections, so I can look at the brake linings, look at the rotors, check suspension parts. One thing I like to really check out are brake line. I had a brake line blowout on my front of my Liberty. It was very scary. Lost all braking. Luckily, the emergency brake was able to keep me in control. Always check your brake lines while you got the wheels off. This really is durable. You've got a place you can hang it, and I've jammed it into places. So again, just because it's built to last. Another really important tool to have is a good, well-calibrated torque wrench. This is a Husky from Home Depot. You can get them more inexpensively at Harbor Freight. You don't use it as a breaker bar. This is calibrated. Use it like a calibrated tool. Put it away when you're done. I always make sure it's at its loosest setting when I store it. You're not compressing that spring. That modifies its readings over time. This says it needs to be 100 foot-pounds on the lug nuts. 100 foot-pounds. Make sure that the tires are flat up against, of course, the star pattern opposite lug nuts. I'm just going to lower it down just enough to where the tire makes contact. Again, just trying to get enough weight on it so I can torque it down properly. And the star pattern, again, trying to sneak up on them so that they're all about equal. I'm not going to take it home with this. I'm just going to just to snug them up. That's where I like the control on this thing. It really lets me just sort of take things in a little bit like that. All right, so I'm going to lower it down, put some weight on that tire. Not all the way down, just enough to keep it from spinning. I always go back around a couple times, star pattern. And then after it's done, they're all done, I'll drive it maybe a couple dozen miles and then check them all again. You can see right there how the vehicle rolled back just a little bit after I took those wheel chocks off. In that front, just a little bit of play in that, and it rolled just enough that you wouldn't want it to move that way when you have it on a jack, because it could come off. It shows they do their job. And this will become the spare tire. I'll retorque those after the vehicle's been driven a couple dozen miles. I'll come back, retorque them all. And don't forget to pull the wheel chocks when you're all done, because in the morning you want to pull out. I've done that, left the wheel chocks on, and boy do they do their jobs. You can't get out. I'll catch up with you over at one of my other videos to see what else works in real life.